This question is 2019 Leaving Cert, Paper 2, Question 9, Trigonometry. So the question tells you that Ore is a radar station 120 kilometers north of a port P. The circle C is located at Ore and has a radius of 100. It says when a ship enters the circle, it will be detected by the radar station. Figure 1 shows a ship leaving the port P and sailing in the direction 30 degrees east. The ship enters the circle at S and exits at T, and at Q the ship is closest to Ore and the angle PQ Ore is 90 degrees. Part A says the triangle PQ Ore taken from figure 1 is shown in figure 2. Find Q Ore. So they have given us this little itty bitty triangle. Okay, so if I try to draw it a bit bigger so I can doodle all over it. So what we have is we have this triangle, right? We are asked to find Q Ore. So Q Ore is we are asked to find this side. So in terms of what we have, you look at it and you go, you've got a triangle. So in questions, you go, do I have a right angle triangle? And you go, yep, I do. Can I do Pythagoras? So for Pythagoras, I need 3 sides. So I don't have that, so I can't do Pythagoras. Can I do my sine, cos, and tan ratios? So in terms of doing my sine, cos, and tan ratios, I have to label my sides. I have this angle, so in relation to this angle, this would be the opposite side. This is a hypotenuse because it's across from the 90, so this would be the adjacent. I am looking for x, so I am looking for the opposite. So what formulas have I got that involve opposite? And this other side I have is hypotenuse, so opposite and hypotenuse. So my opposite and my hypotenuse is your sine. So the sine of x is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So my sine of 30 is equal to my opposite over 120. If I want my x on its own, sorry for writing at an angle, if I want my x on my own, I will have 120 sine 30 is equal to my x. Plug that into your calculator, so your x will work out as 60. Okay, so we know that the side we're looking for is 60. And that's by following the steps, going, do I have a right angle triangle? Can I do Pythagoras? Can I do my ratios? If you had said no, no, and no, and no for those, and you'd got to the next step would have been the sine rule. So for the sine rule, you would have gone, do I have a side and an opposite angle? So in terms of a side and an opposite angle, we have a side and an opposite angle for this. We have your side being 120, the opposite angle being 90. So if I wanted to, I could do the sine rule. Right, so the sine rule, I'm looking for the side, so I would go, my x goes up here, over the sine of its opposite angle, which was 30, is equal to the side I know, which is 120, over the sine of its opposite angle, which is 90. I want the x on its own, so x is equal to 120 sine 30 divided by sine 90. Sine of 90 is 1, so that gives me 120 sine 30, which is the exact same as before, so 60. So you could have worked it out either way. So regardless, we know that the length of Q Ore is 60. So you would fill it in on your picture. Then part B, it says the triangle Q or S is taken from figure 1. Use it to find QS. So again, we have a picture. On your picture, you have 100 kilometers and you have a right angle. But this time we have QR, and QR we know it's 60 because we'd worked it out before. They haven't got it labeled though because we only calculated it a second ago. They want us to find QS. So what you have is you have a right angle triangle and you have two sides. So again, in terms of silly stuff, you go, do I have a right angle triangle? Yep. Can I do Pythagoras' theorem? So for Pythagoras' theorem, I can use it to find the length of the third side if I have two. So I have two here, so I can use Pythagoras' theorem. How Pythagoras could go wrong is I plugged them in the wrong way. So again, I have to identify my sides. So the side that is opposite the 90 is the hypotenuse. In terms of Pythagoras' theorem, it's the hypotenuse squared is equal to the length of the other sides squared and added together. So we have 100 squared is 60 squared plus x squared. So you'd have 100 squared, take away 60 squared is equal to my x squared. So on the calculator, if you go 100 squared, take away 60 to be squared, you get the grand total of 6,400, which is my x squared. So my square root of 6,400 is my x. So the square root of 6,400 is 80. So that means I know my other side was 80 and I label it in. So Q to S was 80. Q to S was 80. Okay, on the next page, it asks you to find PS. So PS is a little extra bit of curve down here. So to calculate that, again, go back to the drawing board. What have you got? So your PS is in this picture. So we have a triangle. On our triangle, one of the sides is 120. Part of the other side is 80. The other one is 60. I know this angle is 90. I know this angle is 30, right? So in terms of questions, again, we are trying to find PS. So we're trying to find that bit here. So how I could do it is I go, do I have a right angled triangle? Yep. Can I work out Pythagoras' theorem? So you could work out Pythagoras' theorem because we have two sides. So again, label them correctly. So this one is the opposite to the 90, so that one's the hypotenuse. So you go 120 squared is equal to 60 squared plus x squared. So 120 squared is equal to 14400. So you've got 14400, take away 3600 is equal to x squared. So you do that, take away my 60 squared, and I get the grand total of 10,800 is equal to my x squared. So my square root of that, square root of 10,800 is equal to 103.923. That's my x, so that's that whole length. We know that we've got 80 of it, so we take away the 80. So we know the bit we are missing is 23.923. And the question says correct to your nearest kilometre. So 23, sorry, I moved this up so you can actually see. 23.923 to the nearest kilometre is the same as 24 kilometers. And again, add that into your picture. So you go back to the first bit and you go, this bit is 24. So this bit going along here would be 104.